What's up guys, in this guide I'm going to be teaching you everything that you need to know about the Sentinel Marksmanship Hunter in 11.1.5. We'll go over talents, rotation, stat priority, gear, consumables and enchants, and also any macros that I use. So let's go over the talents then. We're going to start with the class side of the talent tree first. We're not going to be taking Death Blow. Kill Shot is basically a non-button at this point. It does barely any damage and is only used as a very low priority filler on single target. We're not going to be pressing it in AoE, so we want to free up this point to take it elsewhere. On the left side, we're going to be taking Survival of the Fittest, which is one of our main defensives, which is going to reduce all damage we take by 30% for 8 seconds. And we're going to buff this up even further by granting it an additional charge with padded armor. And then Lone Survivor on the right side is going to reduce the cooldown of this cooldown by 30 seconds and increase its duration to a total of 8 seconds, which was previously 6 seconds. These three talents here are responsible for making the Hunter much more tanky than it has been in recent times. So we definitely want to be picking up all three of these. Another very important talent we're going to be picking up in the class talent tree is Misdirection. Now this is definitely needed for Marksmanship Hunter. The amount of burst that this spec does is nuts, so especially if you get procs. So we want to be making sure that we're using our Misdirection on the tank before any pull where we're expecting to do a lot of damage. For example, if we got True Shot or even if we got a Volley Salvo, but we'll get into those talents later. There has been plenty of times where I don't have Misdirection off of cooldown or I just forget to use it and I do end up dying because I haven't pressed it and redirected my threat. I end up getting all the threat and then just getting meleeed by the mobs and dying. Down the middle, we're going to pick up Explosive Shot and then also buff up the damage of Explosive Shot by 8% with Blackrock Munitions. Explosive Shot is a super important button in our rotation, specifically this season because of our tier set. And then finally, we'll talk about some crowd control that we're taking as Marksmanship Hunter. So with the recent changes to Marksmanship Hunter, you don't actually need a pet anymore to use your Intimidation or even your Bloodlust. So we're going to be picking up Intimidation with a single target stun on a 1-minute cooldown. And then after this, we're going to be picking up some AoE stops. So the first one that we'll be picking up is Bursting Shot. Do be careful when using this because it is going to spread the mobs out completely, which may cause the wipe in itself, but it still can be very handy in some scenarios. Down the bottom, we'll be picking up Implosive Trap, which is an AoE knock-up effect, again used as an AoE stop. And if you also use this after using a Binding Shot, so you'll fire a Binding Shot at the target's location, then you'll use an Implosive Trap. It will knock all the mobs up to a point where it actually triggers the stun from the Binding Shot. So with a little bit of setup, you can actually have an on-demand AoE stun as a Hunter. But then also you can just use Binding Shot, like if the tank needs to kite, or if you're in a coordinated group, you can tell your tank to kite to get a stun on most of the mobs. So that is the notable class talents that we'll be picking up. Now we're going to move on to Sentinel. So in general, this is a very, very passive hero tree. A lot of this damage is going to happen naturally throughout your rotation and you don't need to put too much thought into it. For example, on the left side, we're going to be picking up Don't Look Back. This is just going to be a passive absorb shield that you're going to stack up on yourself up to 10% of your total maximum health every time your Sentinel deals damage. This is going to make us much more tanky and really help with surviving those one-shots, especially in higher keys. In the middle, we've got our first choice node. Doesn't really make too much of a difference in Mythic Plus, I'll be honest, so it's kind of an irrelevant choice node, but just by default, pick up Sideline here. When Sentinel starts dealing damage, it just snares the target by 40%, so it can be handy in some situations. Now we'll move on to the choice nodes that matter a lot more, so we'll pick up Sentinel Watch on this left choice node here. This is going to reduce our True Shot's cooldown by up to 15 seconds, and we end up having our True Shot on around about a 1.5-minute cooldown, and this talent is very responsible for that. And then on the right choice node, we'll pick up Overwatch just to add some extra execute damage. Finally, Lunar Storm is the capstone for this hero talent tree. And this is the only real part of the hero tree that we actually play around, but I'll cover that in the advanced tips section later in this video. Moving over to the marksmanship specific talents then. So as this is the Mythic Plus build, we're definitely going to be picking up trick shots down the middle as this is the bread and butter for our AoE. We basically just want to be weaving in our multi-shots in between our aim shots and rapid fires to make them ricochet on additional targets. Now, before we talk about some more talents, we're just going to quickly touch on our tier set. So this is going to cause our lock and load to fire an explosive shot at 300% effectiveness. So this is going to be some huge damage when we do get this proc. The lock and load we definitely want to pick up in the talent tree. This makes it so our ranged auto attacks have an 8% chance to trigger this proc. And this proc causes our next aim shot to cost no focus and be instant cast. And obviously also fire that giga buffed explosive shot that we just talked about. So this is only triggered from our auto attacks. So therefore we want to pick up in the rhythm. When rapid fire finishes channeling fully, the time between your auto shots is reduced by 1 second for 12 seconds. We're going to get off more auto shots here, so that means for those 12 seconds, we've got an increased chance to proc our lock and load. In the rhythm is obviously going to place a lot more emphasis and importance on our rapid fire, as well as surging shots to the right of it, which makes it deal even more damage and also gives aim shot a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of rapid fire. Rapid fire is also going to grant us precise shots with our no scope talent that we're picking up down here. And down the bottom with Bullet Storm is also a fully channeled rapid fire can also increase the damage of our aim shot by up to 40%. So we'll cover this in the rotation later, but basically rapid fire is a huge priority in our rotation because of all of these talents. I do want to quickly touch on Streamline as well. So again, rapid fire is going to grant us Streamline. Basically, Streamline is going to reduce the focus cost and cast time of our aim shot by 20%. And this can stack up to 2 times. So when this is stacked up to 2 times, your aim shot is going to be 40% less focus and also cast 40% quicker. Down in the middle then, moving target is also going to cause our precise shots to increase the damage of our next aim shot and also grant Streamline. So now we have 2 ways to stack up our Streamline by using rapid fire and also consuming our precise shots. And then a third way is by using explosive shot. When we use precision detonation and when we pick up this talent, casting explosive shot is also going to grant us Streamline. And remember that lock and load is going to passively fire an explosive shot, so whenever we get this proc and use it, we're also going to be granted Streamline. And then with Tensile Bowstring, when we're inside our true shot, the effectiveness of Streamline is increased by 50%. The final points that I want to talk about for the marksmanship tree is Volley. So this is going to deal big AoE damage itself now, but it's also going to grant us trick shots for the whole duration, and it won't be consumed by any abilities that you use. So for 6 seconds, you can spam your rapid fire and aim shot back to back, or maybe even 2 aim shots back to back. And then just under Volley, we're going to pick up Salvo, which now causes our Volley to also apply 2 explosive shots. So again, we're going to get 2 stacks of Streamline right off the bat whenever we use our Volley here, but it's also just going to deal insane burst itself. So that is the Mythic Plus build covered for the Sentinel Marksmanship Hunter. So let's move on to the stats now. So for the Marksmanship Hunter, the weapon DPS is going to be by far and away your most valued stat. So if you do see any big weapon upgrade, you're going to want to get your hands on that ASAP. And then after that, for secondaries, Critical Strike is going to be your most valuable secondary, followed closely by Mastery. So for Sentinel, you're going to want to load into Critical Strike and Mastery. And then after that, you'll load into Versatility and then Haste. For crafting, if you want that big short-term gain right now, then I'd recommend you to craft a weapon with an Ascension embellishment on it. This isn't going to be your long-term best, but because weapon DPS is so valuable, if you don't have a great weapon on you right now, it can definitely be a great idea to craft that. But if playing for the long term, I would recommend you to craft 2 off pieces of gear with a Dawn Thread lining embellishment on it for the extra critical strike. Now, as you can see, I don't want to confuse you guys, so I do want to just touch on this quickly. I did craft my off pieces, or all of my pieces, with critical strike and haste. Now, it's a very, very minimal DPS loss for me to not go crit mastery on all of these. But why I wanted to do this is it allows me to play Dark Ranger and BM at just a swap of my talents, and I don't actually have to recraft or bother with any of that. And I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of DPS just to give me that freedom to be able to play all 3 specs. However, if you're just committing to Sentinel, I would recommend you to Sim, but you're probably going to be going with Critical Strike and Mastery on all pieces. Now, for trinkets, you'll ideally want to use one on-use trinket that you're going to try and line up with every single true shot. This is going to be super easy if you're able to get your hands on a House of Cards or a Funhouse lens from Delves. These match the true shot cooldown much better than, say, a Signet of the Priory, which I have, but is still also a very good pickup, especially if you can get it on a myth track like I have. Basically, how I play with this trinket is I'll try and match it up with my true shot as much as I can, but I'm not going to wait longer than 10 seconds with my true shot to try and line it up. So say I've still got 30 seconds left on the cooldown of my trinket and true shot has just come up, then I'm just going to send my true shot. After getting your hands on one nice on-use trinket, you'll then want to run with a passive trinket, which you're likely going to want to get the improvised Sephorian Pacemaker. This is definitely your best choice here, and you'll want to try and use your true shot during the 30-second critical strike window of this trinket. Basically, this trinket procs every 60 seconds and gives you massive crit for 30 seconds. So it is actually quite easy to line up your true shot inside that, but just be wary that is something that you want to try and strive towards. For the Puzzling Cartel chips, remember this is only really relevant if you're clearing Mythic, because otherwise you'll be locked to Heroic loot. But as your first buy, you want to buy the Jaster Diamond. This is by far and away the best ring in the game and also has some very nice mastery on it, which is nice for Sentinel. After this, you'll pick up Tiny Pal. This has great stats. It's loaded with crit and mastery and also helps out our single target. But if you do already have a 6, 7, 8 myth track weapon, then I would recommend simming it against it before you actually pick this up. And then the third buy that I'd recommend you to get is the House of Cards, unless you already have a Myth Track Signet of the Priory. A quick touch on Cyrce's Circlet. You'll replace Cyrce's pretty early on in the season as soon as you get 2 nicely statted Hero Tracks rings with a lot of crit on them. But if you are still running with it in the meantime, then you'll want to run with the Stormbringers, Windsingers, and Fathom Dwellers sockets. For enchants, when the corruptions do come out, you'll want to enchant your helm with the Greater Rune of the Void Ritual. On your weapon, you'll run with the Council's Guile. On your cloak and braces, you'll run with Avoidance. Chest, you'll enchant with Crystalline Radiance. On your legs, you'll use the Stormbound Armor Kit. On your boots, you'll run Defender's March. And finally, on your rings, you'll run the Radiant Critical Strike, but I would recommend you to sim it in case Mastery sims better for you. For consumables, Flask of Alchemical Chaos will be your go-to flask in all situations, and you'll also always rock with the Algari Mana Oil on your weapon. Tempered Potion will be your DPS potion of choice, with the Algari Healing Potion being your go-to healing potion. For your food buff, you'll want to consume secondary stat food. Here are some options. And lastly, for your gems, you'll want to run with 1 Culminating Blasphemite, and then ensure you have 1 of each gem type to maximize the crit effect. Then you'll fill out the rest of your gems with Masterful Rubies. Moving on to the rotation then, let's first start with some general tips for the Marksmanship Hunter. So, the first tip that I'd like to give you guys is to try and not overcap on aim shot or rapid fire. To make this easier, between every aim shot, you'll want to try and consume a precise shot stack in between, as this is going to grant you the streamline buff, which is going to make your aim shots much more efficient. Rapid fire is also going to grant you a streamline buff, so whenever you can, between your aim shots, you'll want to be spending your rapid fires and also your precise shot stacks to make those aim shots cost less, but also cost quicker. In AoE, you'll also want to make sure that you always have your trick shots buff active if you're about to use aim shot or rapid fire, so you'll just simply want to use multi-shot in between these abilities. The final general tip that I'll give for the Marksmanship Hunter is to try and not overcap on focus. I see a lot of people using steady shot when they're nearing 100 focus already, and you're just wasting your focus here because you're overcapping on it. So instead, what I'd recommend you to do is keep an eye on your focus and use more arcane shots or multi-shots, depending on the situation. So let's get into the rotation then. We're going to start with single target, and I'm going to try and do this as I go, so bear with me. I might overcap on stuff as I'm talking it out with you guys, but we'll cover everything that you need to know about the rotation. So to start, especially on single target, you want to start with a Hunter's Mark, and then you definitely want to remember to use your misdirection on your tank. Obviously, I don't have a tank right now, so I can't use that. So this is not really feasible in Mythic Plus because it's kind of just like go, go, go. But if you do have time to precast an aim shot, you will precast an aim shot 3 seconds before you pull. But generally, how I open will be, I'll start with a volley straight into a rapid fire. Then I'm going to use an arcane shot to spend my precise shot stack straight into my true shot, aim shot, and then you're just going to weave in between your aim shots an arcane shot. Whenever rapid fire comes off of cooldown, you're going to use rapid fire. Then you want to spend your precise shot stacks in between. We're going to aim shot. Then we're going to rapid fire because it's just come back off of cooldown. It got reset. We don't want to overcap on aim shot. Then we're going to use arcane shot in between. Steady shot to rebuild focus. Aim shot. Use our precise shot stacks by casting aim shot. Then, sorry, arcane shot. Then another aim shot into an arcane shot. Rapid fire. Arcane shot to spend precise shot stacks. Then aim shot. Then we're going to arcane shot again. Volley came off cooldown, so we're going to send that. Then aim shot, arcane shot, steady shot to build up focus. Arcane shot as we're getting close to overcapping on focus. Then we're going to aim shot, arcane shot, rapid fire. That's going to give us precise shot, so we use arcane shot again. Then we're going to aim shot into an arcane shot. We can kill shot if the target's low here. We can also send explosive shot because that's going to grant us streamline and then make our aim shot cast quicker. And then that's basically how it goes, right? So you want to use rapid fire whenever it comes off of cooldown as a general rule of thumb. You want to keep aim shot from overcapping. You want to spend your precise shot stacks in between your aim shot and rapid fire cast. You want to use volley on cooldown because with the Mythic Plus build, that's also going to fire an explosive shot. You're going to use true shot pretty much whenever it comes off of cooldown, unless you're like 10 seconds out from your trinket, or you need it for like a specific boss phase, or you want to save it for lust coming up, etc, etc. I do also have, this is kind of like a little troll thing that I still do. I do actually have my trinket macroed into my true shot. I wouldn't recommend that, but maybe as a beginner marksmanship hunter, that might be just a little nice macro to help you learn the spec a bit quicker. But it's definitely not ideal because you want to sometimes you'll want to hold your trinket for like a big go with your lust coming up, but you can actually get a true shot off in the meantime because it's slightly shorter cooldown, right? Now, the only thing that I haven't talked about here is the lock and load procs, but basically whenever you get a lock and load proc, you want to send it, but you want to send an explosive shot first. So right here, perfect. So I've got a lock and load proc, I want to send explosive shot, then I'm going to send my aim shot straight into it because that is going to double dip with my precision detonation and blow up both of those explosive shots for 25% extra damage. So that is why we don't really use explosive shot. We'll cover that more in the AoE rotation in a second, because explosive shot is basically just a super low priority filler unless you get a lock and load proc, because then you're going to double dip from your tier set and make both of the explosive shots deal 25% extra damage. So I think that's everything covered. The only thing that I haven't really talked about is kill shot. Kill shot is a super low priority filler. You're not really going to be using kill shot at all unless you have nothing else to press. It just kind of hits like a wet noodle. I think the top hunters in like the top keys are using kill shot like not even a handful of times before, like over the course of a whole run, right? So that is single target. And honestly, for AoE, nothing much really changes except for the fact that you'll be replacing your arcane shot with multi-shot and just making sure that you're using multi-shot in between every single aim shot or rapid fire to make sure that they ricochet. But we'll go downstairs and we will show you the AoE rotation, opener, and also priority system. Okay, so like I mentioned briefly upstairs, the main thing with the AoE rotation is you just want to make sure that you use multi-shot and have trick shots active whenever you are about to cast aim shot or rapid fire. That is imperative. If you don't do that, you're going to lose out on so much damage. So to start on AoE, if you do have time and you're approaching a pack, you can Hunter's Mark your priority target. Then again, you're going to misdirect the tank. That is also super important. Otherwise, you're going to rep threat and you're probably going to die. And then the opener for the Marksmanship Hunter on AoE goes as follows. So you'll start with a volley, which is also going to fire 2 explosive shots. So we're going to go volley, straight into a rapid fire, straight into true shot, into an aim shot straight away. Then we're going to multi-shot to get back up our trick shots. Into another aim shot, we got a rapid fire reset, so we're going to send the rapid fire. Again, just weaving in these multi-shots in between every single spender, if you want to call aim shot and rapid fire the spenders. Rapid fire is again our priority here, and we're going to multi-shot in between. Then we're going to aim shot, again multi-shot. Again, in AoE, explosive shot is still a low prio ability unless you get a lock and load proc. Then you're going to make sure you've got trick shots active. You're going to send the explosive shot first, straight into an aim shot, which is also going to fire another explosive shot, and that's going to all blow up for an extra 25% damage through the precision detonation talent. So that kind of threw me off with like my flow, but now we're going to volley. Volley whenever it comes up with cooldown. Unless like the pack is like pretty much dead and you can save it for some big extra damage in the next pack. That's the only time I'd recommend to kind of hold your volley. We're going to multi-shot before we rapid fire. Then we're going to spend our precise shot stacks and also get trick shots up by multi-shotting in between. Here is where we could explosive shot to get another point of streamline, and then a big aim shot to blow that up for an extra 25% additional damage. But again, explosive shot, I want to reiterate, is a super low prio. True shot's just come up, so we're going to send that straight into a rapid fire. Then multi-shot into an aim shot. Multi-shot again into another aim shot. We got volley coming up, so we're going to send that into an aim shot and then a rapid fire. The reason I like to do that and start with an aim shot inside my volley window is because then I'm going to blow up my explosive shots with my precision detonation talent and get an extra 25% damage out of my explosive shots because I'm sending my aim shot into the explosive shot. Then we're going to explosive shot here. I probably shouldn't have done that because I was already 2 stacks of streamline. And now if I get a proc of lock and load, that's going to feel really bad because it's not going to double dip. But it's pretty simple as a general rotation. So it's just weaving in those multi-shots in between every aim shot and rapid fire. Prioritizing rapid fire. Holding explosive shot for the most part until we get a tier set proc or a lock and load proc. Sending volley on cooldown. Ignoring kill shot like it's the plague. Sending explosive shot as a super low prio. I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over here, but the more I say it, the more it's going to kind of drill into you guys as well. Remember, my rotation is being tracked down here, so you can slow the video down and check that out if you do, please. And then just multi-shot again as another priority if you're about to overcap on focus and you've got nothing else to press. But we'll go one more go here with our true shot coming up. So rapid fire with trick shots active. Then we're going to weave in our multi-shot, aim shot again, into a rapid fire. That's going to send our Lunar Storm as well. Then we're going to volley. Here we volley, and we're still going to use... Okay, I got a rapid fire reset there. I could have used my rapid fire straight away. Kind of getting unlucky with the lock and load procs here. But that is the AoE rotation opener and priority system for the Marksmanship Hunter. Now, what we'll do is we'll cover some advanced tips for the Marksmanship Sentinel Hunter. So, the first thing that I would recommend you to do is get this weak aura, or a variant of this weak aura if you don't like the look of this. But basically, what this is tracking is my Lunar Storm. So, every 30 seconds, my next rapid fire is going to launch a Celestial Arrow that basically just deals extra damage, right? So, you'll see it now. So, I'll send my rapid fire, it will shoot that, and then we've got the massive blue circle here, right? So, you can actually delay your rapid fire by up to 7 seconds. So I'll wait here until we get to 7 seconds. We'll pretend that rapid fire has come off of cooldown when we've got 7 seconds left on this countdown right here. And that means that we would actually delay it. So rapid fire has just come up off the cooldown now. We're going to ignore it and we're just going to press other buttons in the meantime. And then when Lunar Storm is procced, we'll then send the rapid fire. And basically, this just means extra damage because you're getting your Lunar Storm off on cooldown. And you don't have to wait the 20-second cooldown and leave your Lunar Storm on cooldown for a little while, right? So my next advanced tip would be to try and find the mobs in the pack with Spotter's Mark on them and aim shot those mobs. So as you can see here is on my current target, but sometimes it's not always, or you might swap targets. But the more that you aim shot the target with Spotter's Mark on it, the more true shot cooldown reduction you're going to get, which is in turn going to increase your DPS by a lot. And then the final advanced tip, which is specific to the Sentinel Marksmanship Hunter, and we have already covered this during the AoE rotation and also the single target rotation, but now without everything else going on, it's going to be a lot easier to explain it, is why do we hold Explosive Shot? So Explosive Shot is a super low priority AoE filler unless you get a lock and load proc. This is because with the precision detonation, when you aim shot into your explosive shot, the explosive shot is going to deal 25% increased damage. And when you get a lock and load proc, it's firing a giga buffed explosive shot from your tier set, but you'll also send your explosive shot by itself first before you then use your aim shot, which is going to fire the giga buffed explosive shot. And basically it's just going to double dip on that 25% extra damage and consume it at the same time. So the aim shot is going to blow up both of those explosive shots from insane burst. So specifically on AoE, let's try and get a proc here. So we're going to use our rapid fire so that we get our in the rhythm proc, which is going to increase the rate that we're auto shotting. There we go. I just got one accidentally. Going to rapid fire. That's going to grant us increased auto shots like speed. So that's going to give us an increased chance to proc our lock and load. So in AoE, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this quick. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this quick enough. Let's try and proc another one. But in AoE, what you're going to do is when you have the lock and load proc active, obviously it's all going to be very quick. So I want trick shots active so that my aim shot ricochets and hits everything. I'm then going to send my explosive shot first, straight into my aim shot, which is going to fire both, and it's all going to explode at the same time. I hope that makes sense. But you want to make sure that you have your trick shots active simply for the fact that you want the instant cast lock and load aim shot to hit all of your targets, right? Or at least cleave through your trick shots. Then you're going to send the explosive shot. So I'll wait here. So I've got my trick shots. You're going to then send the explosive shot because it's got a very small window before it blows up. Then you're going to aim shot and it's going to blow it all up. You see? So that is the final advanced tip for the Sentinel Marksmanship Hunter. And then finally, we can move on to some of the macros that I use as a Marksmanship Hunter. So this is one that I use. I kind of get a lot of stick for still using this because a lot of people just use weak auras for misdirect instead. But basically, before the start of every key, I'll right-click my tank's name. I'll click copy character name when on this window when it comes up. And I'll just paste their name in this so I don't even have to think about it. I just press my misdirect on my V keybind and it's just going to MD the tank. But again, you can just use a smart misdirect weak aura for that. I don't know how they work. I don't know if you need to do a little bit of setup for those, but feel free to do your own research for that. Volley. You don't actually need the salvo anymore because the volley just sends these explosive shots by themselves when you're talented into salvo. But with this macro, basically what it does is my volley, if I pressed it as a normal keybind, it would come up with this green swirly, right? With this macro here, I pre-place my cursor and then the volley is going to be targeted wherever my cursor already is. And I don't need to press this green swirly. Instead, I just press my keybind with my cursor pre-placed. It'll place the volley and also fire the explosive shots with the salvo talent. I also have the same at cursor macros for abilities like binding shot and also freezing trap. I'm quite on it with where my cursor already is, so it means that I can just pre-place my cursors, throw that out, throw my binding shot out. It just removes the need for me to click that green swirly, which can get annoying and can sort of like throw me off. I have at focus macros for my counter shot, which is my kick, my intimidation, which is my single target stun, and also my tranquilizing shot. And then I have a macro here where I have this on my mouse wheel down. So you'll see me target normally a pink or cyan mob with my plater profile. And I'll click that as I'm approaching a pack. I'll scroll down, which will put it on my focus over here. And then I'll swap to my priority target, which would be this dummy instead. And that basically means that I can fire all of my priority damage into the priority target. And then if this mob was to start casting, I could control 2, which is my focus intimidation keybind, and it's going to stun that while I'm still firing damage into the main target, right? Same goes for control 1, which is my focus kick, and I'd have kicked that mob if it was casting. But that is everything you need to know for the Sentinel Marksmanship Hunter. So hopefully this guide did help you or a friend out, and if it did, then please feel free to drop a like down below and subscribe to your boy. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.